program. We had a time and date mix-up with our planned speaker program, and Sherry Marcy very kindly offered to step in and fill the gap. Sherry's lunch and hour marketing regular. She's been joining the lunch programs for 3.5 years, I believe. Long time. She's part of the furniture.
That's right.
I'm sure, guys. I'm sure.
Sherry also fulfills quite a few additional community roles. She's ambassador for LA2M. She also assists startup businesses working through the SCORE program, and you'll see Sherry in many, many networking events. So Sherry, I'd like to welcome you and roll on with the program.
Thank you, Dean. It's working? Everybody can hear? Woo-hoo! Yay! Thank you for mentioning GLEQ. I am the ambassador for this group for GLEQ, Great Lakes Entrepreneurs Quest. And they're about to put together their next phase of contests. So if you have a business idea, check out the website, www.gleq.org. And the prize money keeps going up, so it's worth checking it out. When Dee asked me to give this talk on usability, she kept emailing me back and said, yeah, but what does it have to do with marketing? So I thought I'd try to explain that. I was at Pfizer, this is about 7 years ago, and I was running a group called Scientific Computing. And we had, first of all, I had PhD scientists reporting to me. It was really frightening. They were very bright, and they put together some really interesting tools to help Pfizer scientists, research at Pfizer, discover drugs. But none of them were being used. None of the chemists used the tools, and they were really neat tools. Not only that, but nobody in informatics at Pfizer had ever thought about or read about or anything about usability. So they would make some software and throw it over a fence. So this whole issue of nobody's using my software was very common at Pfizer. So I had two issues. One was a smaller scientific computing issue of how do I get these tools used? And that's a marketing issue. And the other is how do I sell informatics on the idea of thinking in terms of usability? So, first of all, I thought I'd just go back over usability. It involves about 6 steps. Design. You have to make sure it works so that if it breaks, people stop using it. It's helpful to test, and this is sort of focused on software, but it could be websites, it could be phone apps, it could be anything. It could be products. So you do alpha and beta testing, you know that, but you also should do some usability testing. Training is helpful if it's not dirt simple, and what is dirt simple for like grandmothers and types like that. And it's very helpful if the training is at the point that you use it, you need it, when you need it. Support, if somebody needs help, it's nice to have somebody at the other end of the phone or somewhere, or at the end of an email, or at the other end of the chat or something. And communications. Now, nobody at scientific computing and discovery chemistry at Pfizer had ever thought about marketing. So I am the first person to bring balloons to discovery chemistry. But it made a difference, because then people knew what the hell we were doing. These are the 2 books that informed me. The first one you probably know about, The Inmates Running the Asylum. It's just funny. The second one is a very textbook kind of summary of usability testing and usability. I don't really recommend it unless you dive into it. But they're both good books. So taking from the second book, Beyer and Holzblatt, this is just a quick summary so you don't have to read the book. You start with what's called contextual inquiry. It helps you understand somebody's tasks or job. And that's anchored by not only the tasks, but also the users. And often there are multiple groups of users looking at the same kind of software. And you have to be aware that an admin is using your software very differently than a PhD chemist or something like that. Then you start to think about what you might do to ease that task, and that's the visioning or the design. Then you do paper prototyping to finish out your design. And the reason I talk about paper prototyping is that if you prototype on a computer, everybody's afraid to touch it. It's done. I can't do anything. But if you hand them a bunch of little pieces of paper, it's amazing how they get their hands on it and move it around and mess you up, and it's exactly what you want to do. And then we do usability testing. So you have the software built, you see if it works for the user groups that you need it to work for on the task examples that you've figured out you're trying to solve. And then once you've done it, the world changes. So you do it again. And that's usability in a nutshell. So this story is about a program called WebDoc, and it's all about taking tiny little molecules and trying to fit them into a protein so that it changes the way the protein functions. I don't even pretend to understand it. But the WebDoc tool was very cool. It allowed chemists to figure out which pocket was the best, measure how well it fit into the pocket, picture what was in the pocket, and really design drugs. Which is what we were all about. But I was amazed that you can't read that, but there are people who have BS degrees in chemistry and PhDs in chemistry and everything in between. People who've been at Pfizer for 2 months, and people who've been there for 15 years. So there's a wide variety. So in order to do the usability testing, this is what we needed. People, stuff, facilitator, equipment, and observers. So let me take you through each of those. We selected a subset of chemists, and again, you can't read that, but we just picked out some, and we tried to pick out a variety of chemists. Second of all, we set them up with tasks. And again, I don't think you can read this, and it doesn't matter anyway because I can't even understand this stuff. But we gave it to a few chemists and said, is this something you really do during the day? And enough of them said, sure, yeah, that's a good description. So that we knew we had reasonable tests, or tasks to test. Then we set up, and in this case we set up 2 rooms, although you can just set up one room and then record everything. So this is a testing facility here. Here's the chemist in the blue jeans. I don't know how well you can see him. And here is a guy sitting in a chair observing. And his job is real simple. Just keep that guy talking. That's it. So the chemist turns to me and says, well, what the hell do I do next? The observer must say something like, oh, I don't know, what do you think? Or, what would you do? Or, I don't know. You know, as long as they're absolutely uninformed, and as long as they keep the person talking. So the computer is recording everything that's happening on the screen and everything the chemist is saying, which gets really interesting when you're doing presentations of vice presidents.
Yeah, I bet.
This room, and we had people in another room because we were also interested in spreading this around to informatics. So we had developers watching this. And they were watching what was happening on the screen, a big screen, and they could hear the sound was piped in. They could hear the chemist. And what we did is we had 3 chemists each do 4 tasks. And after the first chemist went through as much as they could and left, the developers would say to us, God, that guy was stupid. I've never seen such a dumb guy who can't figure out the tool. Second time around, the developers all got kind of quiet. And by the 3rd time around, they got it. This was a spectacular training tool in the importance of usability. And it made a huge difference because it was part of how we tried to change and act. So what do we get out of it? We get some direct observation of what's happening, and that was crucial for the developers. We get an assessment of relative quality of use, and I'll talk about what I mean by quality of use. Oops. Whoops. Oh, and then we find out where it's working and where it isn't. So we have some things to fix and we know what they are. So quality of use, it's all of these things that have to do with your experience in using a piece of software, a tool, or a website, or a phone app, or anything, or a product. It doesn't have to do with some of the other aspects of software quality which are crucial, like extensibility, maintainability, modularity and lots of other things that developers know about. So what we did is every time somebody finished a task, we had them just mark on a piece of paper. And it's how hard or easy it was, how frustrated or satisfied they were with it, whether the task failed or succeeded, and about how much time it took. That was all. This was not rocket science. Somebody asked me about statistics, and so I said, no, it's just a mark. And then you sort of measure 0 to 100 how well they did. Okay, so you got a little matrix, 4 tasks, 3 users, and you average the score. In this case, it says 82. Okay? Any questions on that? So, what does it mean? If you're between 90 and 100, wow! If you're between 80 and 90, cool! If you're between 70 and 80, if you're between 60 and 70, if you're below 60, no! Now, nobody remembered what was said up there on those lines, but nobody forgot. Wow, cool, GG's, yuck. And the reason you care about it from a marketing standpoint is that it matters in how many products you sell. So, first of all, if you're way down at the bottom, you just have to start over, maybe with visioning or something like that. As you move up, you still can improve things. So even if you do usability testing, you start out pretty well, you can always make progress. So what's it mean? First of all, if the users are thinking about their work instead of the tool, that's crucial. And I don't know about you guys, but when you're using an application, you're thinking through the application, you're much happier than if you're looking at the application. So, I don't know if you know what a hydroxyl group is, but you do know about finding distances. Once the tool, once the application. The other thing that does is it totally influences your training. So now you're teaching people how to use the tool to do their jobs better, not how to use the tool. So that's huge. So what else? So if you can see the red line, you're down below 60. That means that anybody will try something once. So as you move across time, everybody will try it. But over time, only the developer and some masochistic friend of the developer will actually use it. Okay? So here you're still pretty low. And here it's all about return on investment. So the reason 80 is marked there as acceptable is because now you have a concomitant return on investment based on what you put into the tool. But once you get to cool and wow, what you have is viral marketing. There are people telling other people how neat the tool is. At that point, you guys know about viral marketing. It's always been there, guys, not just since the internet, and it matters. So if you want to sell the product, you really want to go viral. So where did we land? We got to G. People could do things, but it wasn't really great. So I'll take you through some of the things we came up with. It worked, but there were opportunities for improvement. So the first one was, this was the opening page for WebDoc. Nobody could find out how to turn it on. You just couldn't find the button. And this is one of my favorite books, Don't Make Me Think. It says, one of its chapters is omit needless words, and the needless is just crossed out. So people don't read. So this was the second one. By this time we had blue buttons. It was dirt clear. We took away most of the writing. They kind of knew what we were doing anyway. It worked much better. This one, to me, looked like a mess. I mean, it's a spreadsheet kind of on the bottom and a lot of stuff up top. And you know something? The chemists thought it was fine, which probably sort of brought home to me something else I knew, but I really knew after this. And that is, you don't test it on yourself. You test it on the actual users. Because you don't know what they're going to like. You don't know what their lives are like. And you don't know what's going to work fine. So this one worked fine, believe it or not. This one just, scrolling down was kind of a pain. Nobody got there. They didn't get what they were thinking they were going to get, and it didn't work. This one was a royal mess. This was an example of feature creep. They were trying to give people lots of features, And they didn't care, and it just messed them up. So those two screens became one screen, and it would be much better. So here is the visualization tool that I talked about. And first of all, it was really difficult to use, and all the red marks said, boy, nobody knew what those were. And you couldn't see it very well either. So one of the things that happened is we had an outside group write a visualization tool called Lithium, and it's a really neat tool. And you can move things around, you can take a look at that little chemical in the pocket and stuff like that. I love playing with it, I didn't know what it meant, but it's really fun to play with. So this is the metrics. This is where it counts. And beginning with this was Christmas, and we launched it right after Christmas. And then these are the number of people, and this was the number of jobs they made. So two things happened over time, and there are vacations in here, and different groups working on different drugs have high points and low points. But over time, use grows and people grow, and that's the payback on the tool. And we had another tool called WebPK, and that came out of the box at 85 once we redesigned it, and its use stayed high. So these are all the things you can get out of usability, but this is really what you care about if you're in marketing. Attract usage and retain users. And that's why it's about marketing. And one of the things we did is the tools became so popular that they went international at Pfizer. So we started something in the Ann Arbor labs and then went international. But the other thing we did is we started to use this presentation to tell everybody that it matters. And it took us 7 years, but now Pfizer pays attention to usability and all of its informatics projects. Questions?
Yeah. After you launch the tool, after you revise the tool, in many of these engagements, you'll get lots of requests for iterative changes over a period of time. How do you go back and measure those iterative changes? I mean, you can't run an entire usability program every time somebody changes a form or a function, and the byproduct is over time then what was at an 85 for all these micro management changes. Yeah, becomes less.
It's a really good question, and it's a problem in a lot of software development or tool development or anything. It's all about the expert users making demands on you that are not serving the rest of your users. But the thing that you said that isn't true is that you can always run another usability test. What is hard is to limit the amount of development time. And there are lots of ways to do that. I mean, you run out of money, you just say we're done, whatever. But it's not true that you can't run a usability test all the time because they're dirt simple. I met with somebody who thought it had something to do with survey research. It doesn't. It's not rocket science. You just sit somebody down in front of it and say, do this task. Which is another way you can limit some of the changes. You say, what's the task you're trying to accomplish? And how many of your fellow chemists need to accomplish that task? So, very good question. Tough to answer, but there are ways to answer it.
We used to do this with some of our design clients at Autodesk for large design suites. So in part to the earlier question, you come out with a new doc release, here are the 10 major features you're going to experiment with, and that's what happens. But they brought in about 10 years ago, started bringing in the developers like in Pfizer or the San Rafael cases. You have 20 users sitting there around computers, and you have the developers milling around the back of the room. And it was amazing the first time we did it. It was, oh wow, look at what they're trying to do with this. I mean, you can't test it on yourself. Developers said they've got the best approach, and they're looking at it from a workflow approach, and the user doesn't. And the analogy I like is your solution can be like a claw hammer. You can use it to build a house, or you can use it to break into a car. You know which one you're probably not going to get sued over if it doesn't work. But I mean, you just never know how the user's going to twist your product, and this helps you understand it.
And the other thing you said, in the beginning I told you, I'd give you those 4 steps for, visioning and that kind of stuff, anchored by tasks and users. And then I said, and then the world changes and you do it again. So that happens too. The world does change. People get used to a technology and then they move on. Anything else?
just one comment, and that was while I was working for Siemens Communications and developing a new networking service, we wanted to get our customers to actually test their own data network. So we were creating and developing a web application to enable our customers to do this. But in order to test the concept and the idea of the web application, we actually created an Excel spreadsheet. So instead of using Marcy's bits of papers to move around, we gave them a simple application on an Excel spreadsheet. And one of the users commented back, hey, this is really great, and I really like this idea, and it's really helped me understand my data network. Did you ever think about developing this as a web application? So your users actually get you back to what you're trying to achieve in the end. Yeah.
Do you feel that there's a minimum sample size in usability testing to kind of get accurate data results?
Yes. First of all, you need at least 2 or 3 people from each user group. So there are multiple user groups you need to test each of them. But you know, my feeling is that 3 works so well at Pfizer that that's okay with me. But I think you do it until you get the spreads down. So some people race through it and it's perfect, and other people can't do anything. You have to keep testing to figure out where the problems are. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in the sort of the continuation of the process of making the tool usable, which to me has 2 aspects. One is sort of that continuous integration of continuous development with continuous usability and feedback. But the other piece, and this is something that I've also seen as tools develop and get rolled out in organizations, where the tool begins to limit what the users do because they become so comfortable with the tool that they forget how to do their job and they only do what the tool allows them to do.
That's a good point. That didn't happen to us, but chemists at Pfizer were unbelievably tough to corral. So they were not about to limit themselves to a tool. These were people who really knew what they were doing, and they knew the science well enough so that it didn't limit them. But it is an interesting thing that happens with technology, where you get so used to a technology you can't think beyond it. Now, if you're lucky, at least a few people in the world are thinking beyond it. And part of the reason I got involved in usability was that I met up with Steve Jobs when he was Calorie Youth. And he's one of the best usability experts in the world today. And he thinks out of the box. He thinks beyond the current technologies. If you can do that, found a company and start inventing. Because it does happen. And whoever comes up with a new idea that takes you beyond the current technology, you have a good business idea. Roger.
Following on what Benji said about following up with the usability as the product is being used, one of the things we considered doing was having something in the software that allows the user to note something that they wish was different right there while they're using it. You know, take a snapshot of the screen and add a note to it. Can you speak to that at all? Are they actually using that?
We did that later. I mean, once Pfizer Informatics got some of the ideas that we were proposing, they issued a nationwide tool called Arbor, which they hadn't really usability tested well, but we did the best we could. And part of what we suggested was exactly that. You have a feedback mechanism so you can write into somebody immediately while you're in the middle of the tool. And of course, when we first rolled it out, we got a lot of not very pleasant messages. But over time, we got some really neat ideas. So, and the tool kept evolving. It got better and better. And the informatics heads were amazed by that. So it's really eye-opening to people who don't think this way. Somebody else? Yeah.
You mentioned marketing the product after you rolled it out or after you made modifications. Sometimes you're working with a system that it doesn't, it's not that it just doesn't work right, people genuinely hate it. I mean, you'll get this vitriol coming out of the program. So was there anything that you ran into like that, and how did you address it?
Sure, that's why the chemists didn't use the tools. But rather, and we did get some vitriol from the testers before we got to the final design, which was really fun. Because if you use Camtasia or something like that to just record the whole thing, then for the vice presidents, you pick out the snippets that are really telling. So you get some chemist about to put his fist in the screen, and you show it to the VP. And you say, this is why we need some more time, or this is why we need to change this, or this is why we need to do this testing. So that was very helpful. But once, I mean, it really shows up in usage. That's why, you know, everybody will try it, but if nobody will go back to it, you know you screwed up.
But in terms of that chemist that was about to put his fist through the screen, how did you go back to that person and say, look, we've really made the substantive adjustments that are going to really improve the product and get their buy-in on using it?
Well, and it's their buy-in that really is the sales tool. These guys were, I mean, you have to understand, I was your basic person. I had high school chemistry. I knew nothing. I was running a group of senior PhD chemists who were world famous. I mean, these guys were famous. And I had a lot of trouble gaining my credibility. But once they understood that I was trying to genuinely help them, and even the guy who was ready to put his fist through the screen, if he thought we were going to improve it based on what he said, he was with us. So you really win over people if you genuinely are trying to help them.
That's terrific. Round of applause for Sherry. One of the points that I really liked was the number, when the question was asked, you know, how many users do you need to test? And it holds true for so many aspects in life and in marketing and business. You don't need millions to find the answer. A small sample often gives you exactly the information that you need. So, Sherry, thank you so much for those insights. It's now time to pass the mic. The program at Lunch and Arbor Marketing, we pass the mic, introduce yourself, your business, what you're looking for, and we'll start off with Ross.
Hello, I'm Ross Johnson with a company called 3.7 Designs. We create visually stunning and results-focused websites.
Good afternoon, I'm JT Peterson. I'm a product manager looking for another role with software as a service. I don't know about the rest of you, but personally I liked a little bit more relaxed environment today and some more discussion instead of sticking 80 or 90 in here.
I'm Rod Cleveland with Icon Interactive here in Ann Arbor. I've had a couple of colleagues attend this lunch previously. One of our AEs was David Kiley, who came in here. We're an interactive agency, and we work for about a dozen automotive brands currently.
Good afternoon, Gerald Ricker, Advice Consulting LLC. I help companies to grow by helping their people to grow, so I'm like miracle growth for you and your business.
Hi, my name is Laurie Snyder. I'm in international marketing and I guess I would say international business development. I have my own company, Space Development, and I've lived and worked overseas for about 14 years in Asia and South America. So I help businesses expand their bottom line by going into exports primarily.
My name is Bill Kirschbaum. I'm a freelance technical writer, although I do other kinds of writing. I work with small businesses to create materials that are just as compelling as they are authoritative.
Hi, my name is Ben Reitz. I'm actually unemployed. I'm due a GM, and I'm looking to get into the advertising, specifically media planning and social media markets.
I'm Benji Ben-Ruch. I do advanced analytics, quantitative analysis, applied sociology. I help organizations turn their data into information, use it strategically, and expand their analytic capabilities. including interfacing with IT operations and bringing in new software to do analytics. So I also deal with some of the organizational and sociological aspects of that entire process, like don't try to introduce software, regardless of how good it is, when people think that what you're really trying to do is prove they're incompetent at their job so you can fire them. It won't work.
Hi, my name is Bruce Schultz. I'm, I guess the best way to describe myself as a recovering journalist. Thanks for the news. Currently a master's candidate at the University of Michigan School of Information, studying human-computer interaction. I will graduate there in December and will be looking for a job immediately.
Good afternoon. My name is Rick Bernitis. I'm currently in transition right now. I am a sales trainer, leader, and business development executive.
Hi, I'm Joe DeLuca. I'm in marketing, communications, and brand management. I'm in transition, looking for my newest opportunity to help a company grow.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Steele. I'm CEO of Hierarchy. And Hierarchy is a human resource management company. We're national. Actually, we're in Ohio, based in Ohio. And what we do is we work with architects, engineers, and contractors and designers, such as web designers, graphic designers, industrial designers. And we try to get people connected. We're kind of like matchmakers. We do work for clients as well as we try to place people as well. So kind of a little bit on both sides.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Gross. I currently work in local government, and I'm here today because I needed a fix of intellectual stimulation and science, and I miss sales. So.
I'm Roger Rail. I help you make your ideas work and deal with anything to do with information infrastructure, like videotaping and websites, Google Earth mashups, all that.
I'm, excuse me, Michelle Shannon. I'm working with two companies, Prepaid Legal Services and then Kroll Background America, and we have a product that's the Identity Theft Shield. I'm a certified identity theft specialist and risk management specialist. I would love to talk to you about how we can help your company.
Hi, I'm Amy Ma. I'm currently developing a website for self-publishing for children's books in multiple languages.
Hi, my name is Verity Ardoon with a company called LA2M. We are developing a new solution that replaces existing cash registers. Has some great benefits for the owners. I'm looking for, if you know somebody who owns multiple stores and they happen to be a quick service retail environment, for example, yogurt shops, coffee shops, cupcake shops, chocolate stores, movie theaters, concession stands. Those are exactly what we're looking for to test our product and partner, and we're in that stage right now, so thanks.
Hi, I'm Mary Shandell, and I am also in transition. I have about 20 years experience in inside sales and marketing, and looking for the next opportunity. And my husband used to work with you at ADI.
Hi, I'm Debbie Cornett. I have a background in quality systems and development, but I'm transitioning into usability and design user experience because of the job losses. So I started my education that way and then attending lectures during my summer break.
I'm Wayne Aker. I'm a freelance web developer.
I'm Gerard Connors. I'm a freelance web designer and developer and a HFI certified usability analyst. So if you're interested in usability, I can help you out.
I'm Carter Sherline from Prince Stevens, and I'm a commercial editorial worker in Africa, which I don't speak very well. I take pictures. Basically, people, products, segments, quote combinations, so pretty much everything except for words.
Say your name again.
Carter Sherline. And actually, I went to school for that, so how I went from that to product is a long story.
Marcy, I'm up in front of you, Science and Technology Marketing Strategies.
Dee Davey, Creative Ideas Marketing. I'm an independent marketing contractor. I help overstretched and under-resourced marketing managers get projects off their desk. I step in and fulfill one-off marketing assignments that do not require the investment of a full-time resource. I also help product development teams create and launch new service products for revenue generation. And I help marketing agencies get under the skin of their clients to help them tease out key messaging and identify new marketing assignments for business development. Dee Davey, Creative Ideas Marketing. I'm also the voice of Lunch and Arbor Marketing, and I announce the upcoming programs. But before I do that, Roger, would you tell us a little bit about the Google Earth programs coming up?
Oh, well, all right. I'm actually teaching Google Earth right now. The second class is tonight. There's 4 sessions, 3 hours each, of how to use Google Earth and depict reality and augment reality, complex situations on that Google Earth as a platform. It's too late to sign up for this session, but there's another one in June for more oriented toward teachers and educators, how to use it in coursework. But you know, if you're interested in that, you could sign up to that too. You don't have to be a teacher. You can still use it for your business or your nonprofit or whatever. I thought since we had low turnout today that it might be good to go around and have people tell what events are coming up. So I'll start. There's A2 New Tech is next Tuesday night. Is that right? Yeah. Next Tuesday night at the Blah Auditorium at the Business School at 6:30. And what that is they'll have 4 or 5 entrepreneurs, small companies, give a 5-minute presentation of what they're all about, and then a 5-minute Q&A from the audience of 60 to 80 people. And it's always enlightening to see what kinds of startups are going on. You know, there's a lot of people in trenches here, so it's a good thing to go to kind of get a feel for what you might want to go into. And there's some other events like that'll be coming up, and that's once a month. There's other events that occur periodically too. So if anybody else has events, I think it'd be good to mention it now.
Mary? Sure. I'm also with the American Business Owners Association, and we have a fundraising event coming up on May 25th. It's just kind of a fun evening that involves a Businesswomen's Expo at the Courtyard Shops from May 25th from 5 o'clock to 8 p.m. And it's only $5, so please come.
Roger, it's a great idea. GLEQ has their award ceremony on June 7th. You can find that at the website. But for anybody looking for a job, I would highly recommend that you get signed up on at least a couple of the email lists. One is Spark, AnnArborUSA.org. I have no idea what they say, why it's that, but it's AnnArborUSA.org, all spelled out. And they do a website not only for events, but also for sort of get-togethers for people looking for work and help in finding work, how to go through an interview, how to write a resume, all kinds of stuff. The other one is GLEQ, which has just an email list of all the different happenings all around the state. So if you don't feel like Lansing's that far away, there's some really neat stuff happening up there in Jackson and so on. So I highly recommend that you get on those email lists, and then you'll know all about the events everywhere.
Another source for identifying work and work opportunities, I've been introduced to A2B3 group, and there are often requests for specific job tasks, primarily technical, but lots of other things crop up as well. And it's just a matter of signing up on their Yahoo group, A2B3, yahoogroup.com. Ross?
A week from today, next Wednesday, is Refresh Detroit, which is a free-to-attend networking group for people who work on the web, primarily in stuff like usability, web design, web development, and marketing. And it will be at Wayne State University, and I believe the presenter is David Murr, and he's going to talk about social media.
Terrific. Any other events coming up?
One thing I didn't mention during my short talk was I'm working with the Department of Commerce, and every year the Department of Commerce Export Administration has a National District Export Conference. This year it'll be in Detroit for the first time, and it'll be in October, so it's a little far out. It's not exactly about 6 months, I guess, from now. But it's a national conference. We expect between 500 and 700. It's a great place for networking, and it's only totally oriented toward developing a company's exports or helping a company, and it's basically for small and medium companies, to begin exporting if they're not exporting already. And there's a lot to be learned in exports. It's a great way to improve your bottom line. There are risks involved, but the risks can be dealt with some due diligence and with some common sense. And there's a lot of tools out there to help you begin exporting. I've been in the exporting business for 30 years, so I can help anyone here. If they have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Anyhow, this October, we have what I'm thinking of doing is putting a link maybe on this group's website to our website. We have a website to get the agenda and to get the speakers. We expect Secretary of Commerce to be a speaker. We're trying to get President Obama to talk on his National Export Initiative, but that's kind of a long shot. I'm not sure we can get him, but the National Export Initiative is the first time in U.S. history that I know where the administration has specifically gone out and tried to increase exports, which is the whole idea to reducing our trade deficit and also to reduce the government deficit. So that's October 24th, 27th.
Coming up May 21st is an all-day forum sponsored by the Women's Exchange of Washtenaw, WXW.com. It's a full-day program for women in business, but men are welcome as well, and many men do attend. The program is a learning event. There are a great lineup of speakers, hands-on workshops to actually learn and practice some of the skills in developing your business and working out some of the business issues that affect all small and medium-sized businesses. That's the WXW event coming up May 21st, Friday, all-day event. It kicks off about 8 o'clock in the morning and runs to 7 p.m. So a full day packed. If there are no other, one more announcement, Raj?
Yeah. Yeah, I neglected to mention that my classes are at WCC, and that if you're a paid staff of nonprofit, you get your full tuition reimbursed for the class through another program WCC has. And if you're a teacher taking the teacher version, that you can get some kind of state accreditation as part of that. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Spark calendar is good for not just networking events, but also a lot of university events that are public. And not enough of the community goes to some of those university events. And a lot of them are open to the public, and you'll find some really great panelists and ideas being presented there. Also, another calendar that you want to check out is A2Geeks.com, I think it is. They have a unified calendar of 40 or 50 meetup groups in the area that contribute all of their events. So you can always find something that's going on in some field that you might be interested in. So those of you that are in transition, check all those out.
Thank you, Roger. This concludes our program. As the voice of Lunch Ann Arbor Marketing, I work with Derek to put together the speaker program and the communications announcements. And next week, I'm really intrigued because we have a success story sitting in the room with us. I was really delighted because I heard Ross Johnson, 3.7 Designs, radio commercial. Now, we might think radio advertising is dead. It's not. It's a critical part, or can be a critical part of their marketing mix, along with all of these wonderful new digital and social networking tools. we often need to go back to some of the basics. And next week we have Kyle Stu from AnnArborRadio.com coming to talk to us about using radio as an extension of your brand and as an extension of your marketing mix. So see you next week at Lunch Ann Arbor Marketing. Thank you.
Just never know what it is.
What was your name again?
Oh,